Hello there guys and welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to be talking about the situation in Battlegrounds because it does appear that the participation has been dropping quite rapidly. Now this post is from March 31st and I did intend to cover it sooner. However, I think now is going to be pretty much perfect time to talk about it because a new Battlegrounds season is starting today, obviously significantly eclipsed by the release of 8.4. However, at the same point, this is going to be kind of like a good testing ground for Battlegrounds. Participation definitely is going to be down within the first week for sure, but for the rest of the season, in theory, Battlegrounds should see a resurgence, or potentially so, at least slightly, because obviously, number one, the solo event rewards have been updated quite significantly, including 2.5k Titan shards, 7.5k 7-star hero crystal shards. So this is significantly better, as well as updates to the rank rewards. And the second contributing factor is going to be that Valiant store is quite jacked. It really is. And, well, with the release of 8.4, we're going to see a lot of new Valiants, and that's going to be one of the bigger benefits that people see immediately from becoming Valiant, is having access to the best Battleground store, which is the best store in the game. At the same time, the Battlegrounds as a game mode definitely has been trending down, and Kabam seemingly has been effectively, I would even dare to say, self-sabotaging themselves with the refusal to update the store and the events for such a long time, in addition to creating just in general rather unenjoyable metas on top of the release of incredibly hard defenders that kind of suck a lot of fun out of the Battlegrounds as well for a lot of people. And therefore we are here. So we're gonna check out the post, check out the stats. I'm obviously gonna give my input on it, but I also want to hear what you guys think. What has been your overall Battlegrounds commitment or enjoyment over the course of last several months? Because here we have effectively data since season 9. Well, season 9, 11, 12, and 16. It's also worth pointing out that in one of those seasons, participation, I believe in season 12, was significantly boosted by increase in the rewards, which now again would kind of not be too far off what players will be getting now with improved solo event rewards plus the updated Valiant store. And the takeaway from it is that when Kabam boosted the rewards to similar approximation what they are going to be in this season, we had 70,000 people in GC. Last season that concluded, I believe, finished at around 12,000 people in GC, which is a decline of 5 times. Right? It's 5 times fewer people that made it to the Gladiator circuit than we have now. And there are obviously quite a lot of theory crafting. Why is that so? What is happening? And obviously I have spoken about this quite a bit in past myself as well. I do think it is kind of like a mixture of a perfect storm of, number one, unenjoyable, more difficult metas. Number two, influx of very, very tough defenders, because I do think that Kabam underestimates the impact a single hard defender release may have on contest, especially in game modes like Battlegrounds, because if Kabam releases a tough Battlegrounds defender, and then they made it easily acquirable by selling off the 6 stars, and it's not too hard to acquire that defender as a 6 star, and then you having to face it in like every other match, it immediately changes the entire game mode. Like, if you can imagine the version of Battlegrounds with no photon and bullseye and onslaught, for instance, completely different setup. And yes, you obviously can ban champions, but it's only 3 bans. So we are, I think, again, in the eye of a perfect storm for Battlegrounds participation drop. Metas being significantly less enjoyable, defenders being significantly harder, and especially if you are somebody who doesn't acquire all these champions immediately, having to face against them is pretty overwhelming, considering that you're working with like an older, easier set of defenders. You're obviously going to have significantly harder time facing anybody who has spent the $100 on early access bundle and now has a serpent, and now has an onslaught, and now has a photon, so on and so forth. And that's making a huge, huge difference, and genuinely also reinforces the idea of Either, fork up or you're having a significant disadvantage. And we can't discount the input bugs and bugs in general with the game mode and the entire game, because those are significant. Even right now, some of the mastery is not working properly, is just an absolute nightmare. Like something simple as Stupefy not working right now, it might not be the biggest deal in most of the matchups, but then you go up against a random Groot and you realize that you can't parry and find an opening anymore, or against random Rogue, or against anybody in, Alliance Wars or Battlegrounds, you can't parry heavy anymore. Stupefy is not working. If opponent has max limber, you just cannot parry heavy. Things like that, it's just unforgivable, really. And therefore, we are here where we are. I will say one thing, though, because from the looks of the solo event rewards, it did appear that a lot of people still put up points, but they just never bothered getting to the Gladiator circuit. And a lot of people just kind of camped somewhere in victory track, purposely losing and winning the matches to get like some of the rewards. But clearly, the Gladiator circuit rewards did not seem to be big enough incentive to force people to make that push to the Gladiator circuit. And therefore, we arrive where Battlegrounds, whether we like to admit it or not, have changed the game. It is one of the pivotal game modes in this entire game. It's like the best measure of individual skill that we have in the game, or individual ability that I will say that we have in the game. It completely changed the way we champions. Before Battlegrounds were released, how many Dominos got ranked? How many Korgs got ranked? How many Killmongers got ranked? We obviously rediscovered the importance of defenders. Not only that, we rediscovered plenty of other champions, that just nuked stuff like Massacre and starting on Spider-Man and so on and so forth. A lot of champions had a downfall because of Battlegrounds. So it is preposterous to say that Battlegrounds isn't basically the meta-dominating game mode in the game right now. I understand not everybody's overly invested in Battlegrounds, but almost everybody who's playing this game semi-seriously takes Battlegrounds in consideration, if not as a majority kind of like of the reasoning, well, as a significant part of it. It's primarily Battlegrounds and it's primarily Alliance War that kind of determines those rank ups. Especially considering that, whatever works for those two game modes typically does well enough in questing, so you don't, and questing at large doesn't necessarily require that much investment outside of whatever you already have, aside from maybe some challenge modes or some Everest contents like Necropolis and stuff, in which case obviously we rank for that too. But, and I'm gonna draw the very key critical point. The game has not been feeling great lately. We all can agree on that. I think a lot of players' enthusiasm is down. I think a lot of people's commitment and participation and engagement and playtime is down, which sucks. I don't want that. I want this game to do the best it can. And I do think that Battlegrounds has much more to do with it than most people realize. Because it is one of those game modes that, can be the most fun, can be the most wild, but either way, whether you personally like the game mode or not, it does dictate a lot of what happens in this game. Without Battlegrounds being released, for instance, we would have never gotten as many defenders, right? Without Battlegrounds getting released, a lot of champions will be viewed completely differently. And we view the entire Alliance is effectively how we become Battlegrounds-centric and so on and so forth. So it has been a huge shift in the game. And don't get me wrong, I think it's for the better. I think the game is much better with Battlegrounds than without. Significant portion of my viewers come, as soon as the Battlegrounds season finishes, they come to my stream and say, do you miss Battlegrounds yet? Do you have Battlegrounds withdrawals? I do, but the game immediately seems dead and boring and empty without Battlegrounds. That is exactly how big of an impact overall Battlegrounds have made to the game, at least for a significant portion of player base. And it's also, I think, not a controversial statement to say that clearly the Battlegrounds have been struggling against, based on my personal experience, based on any anecdotal evidence that I hear, based on the data that we see here in player participation, in every single way we can look at Battlegrounds and discuss Battlegrounds, the game mode has been on a steep and significant decline to a point where I would want to say it is borderline criminal negligence on Kabam's part. If Kabam sees a significant drop in participations in Battlegrounds in 1 or 2 seasons, they should immediately be on it. There are some things that Kabam can leave for half a year, like incursions being less popular. Because nobody really cares about incursions that much. They're about the rewards, we play them, the rewards get outdated a bit, we don't. Some other stuff, that's fine. I wish Kabam got on top of everything, but they don't. But this is the one thing where they absolutely cannot slack off and work at a leisurely pace. And obviously, we know that there are things in works for Kabam. One of the kind of like positives, I suppose, that I did want to point out is that Kabam does seem to be meeting us a little bit halfway here. They are hearing the feedback. Going forward, only one meta of the season will have the attacker benefiting buff, and these will connect to the current saga, for instance. Generally speaking, the meta without attack tactic will be the last 2 weeks, which again, I think is better. I think when Kabam tries to micromanage the Battlegrounds as a game mode with these, very specific sets of champions that we're basically made to use, I think the game mode gets worse. Like how openly spoken about dislike on these offensive buffs since they were released. Seems that, they are hearing something. My problem is that I do think they're hearing it too late. It seems like they see a trend of Battlegrounds for people not enjoying things in Battlegrounds, and then we're going to wait another season to check, and then we're going to wait another season to check, and then we're going to wait another season to check. Okay, so when they reaffirmed their trend 3 seasons, 4 seasons in a row, they're going, okay, we're going to do something about it. And I just think they are working too late. And they're making very unpopular decisions. They really are. Like, we all have very... Like, Magic Thief and Ex-Magica. Like, I know a portion of players who, as soon as they saw that these are going to be the tactics, and how involved these tactics are effectively with having the right champions, a ton of players just said, I'm not going to play this season seriously. Or I'm not going to push this season. Because the last 2 weeks is going to be strictly the Alliance War tactic that majority of the player base hates and is viciously dependent on having tactic attackers to counter the tactic defenders. It's just not, a good decision, I would say. That tactic was a stupid design, I would say. But not to... One thing meeting us halfway, but it's another thing to still follow through with part of it. When it's clear, like, I don't think that anybody would object if Kabam changed the meta for last week. I don't think there are many people who think this was a great idea for them. Take the, most despised and awful Alliance War tactic and throw it in Battlegrounds. So, again, on one hand, we can definitely see Kabam working on things and changing things in order to kind of like engage the player base more with Battlegrounds. Like, again, the rewards updates, like changing the attack tactic only being working for half season, stuff like that. And then we still see them do plenty of things that will definitely drive away more people. So I hope that... Here's the thing. I know they don't know what they're doing. Like, we all know they don't know what they're doing for the most part. Because if they did, they would have never made this tactic. If they did, they wouldn't have spammed the game with incredibly annoying defenders. If they did, we wouldn't have as many input. I want to hope Kabam knows what they're doing and they have a plan that will work. I just don't believe it. But, as the ray of sunshine, it is also impossible not to admit that at the very least they are trying to do something. Let's just hope that is enough. Again, one of the things that I'm personally most upset with Kabam is the fact that this game could have been 3 times as good and big and popular, or 10 times as big and popular as it is, and shitty decision making by Kabam and lack of quality control has 100% been the thing that has held this game back. Let me know what you guys think. I'm gonna catch you guys soon. Bye bye. Hello there guys, and welcome back to the channel. So we have all the information about